Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Your Views on the News. We're discussing the issues to do with Sharia Council, positive and negatives, and this is the third and final part. And just before the break, Sister Nazia was on the phone just about to make her 2 points, and I had to stop her because we had a break coming up. So Sister Nazia, are you there on the phone now?
Brother, thank you for honouring your word and letting me speak before the video that you're about to show. Yes, I was there during the entire break. Okay, right. Procedural error that I wanted to start with. The Islamic Sharia Council requires that part of the paperwork submission that you have to have applied for your decree NISA. This means that at the point that you apply for khula with the Islamic Sharia Council, you have a serious intention to divorce. Now, 2 years along the lines, I had done all of that, I'd gone through a civil divorce. I sat in a room with a sheikh, Islamic Sharia Council, after a long wait, and he sat there, didn't speak a word of English, he had not read my case file, and he addressed my brother, did not speak to me at all, and he actually said to my brother, is there no chance of reconciliation? And I sat there feeling, hang on a minute, I have been bereft of my civil rights, I have no rights legally now, and now the sheikh is requesting at this point, 3 years down the line, when mediation is over, the relationship there's been nothing for 3 years. And now I'm in a position where I'm asked to consider something quite farcical. That was the first point. Second point is a procedural, I think there's a mismatch. Right, the second mismatch in terms of expectations, and I honestly don't mean this offensively. Sure. I'm brought up and born in this country, but I'm from quite a conservative family. Having said that, there are some affairs I would not discuss with my dad. However, sitting in an Islamic Sharia Council office, I had to sit there with a sheikh discussing incredibly intimate matters with an imam and my brother present. And I just sat there wishing that the only lady that was present was the lady receptionist. And I just wished that there was an alima or someone else who could have related to me. And I didn't feel this crushing sense of humiliation and disappointment for sitting there. So I just think that just those slight improvements, just one thing about the procedure, and the other thing, just making the expectations a little bit more clearly matched for the clients and the service that you provide. But apart from that, a mixture of Khan actually and the Islamic Sharia Council have brought me the peace that I have today. And alhamdulillah, I'm grateful to both of them actually.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, sister. And thank you very much for waiting during the break. I know there's a load more callers waiting still. But before we go to the callers and before I come back to my panelists, let's take another look at the interview with Sheikh Shuaib Hassan and see what he had to say about the Panorama program.
To the show, you released a statement where you stated that you did not interfere in issues already covered by British law. But yet, there appears to be an instance where a woman was told, against the indications of a UK court order, that she would have to take a child to Pakistan to see a husband who had left and been away for 6 months. Is it fair to say that your council does in fact overstep the limits of its authority?
First of all, whenever any person comes asking for a divorce, whether a man or a woman, we try to ascertain and establish whether they have applied for civil divorce or not. If they did not apply for civil divorce, we don't entertain their cases. That is one thing. If their marriage is registered, then they have to apply for the civil divorce. Once it comes to the cases of child custody, we don't interfere with it at all. The only thing what we say that a child got a right to be receiving the love and affection of both parents. And this is why we encourage the parting parties to allow their children to be seen by them on regular basis. In most cases, women, they just agree. They say, yes, there is no problem. But if they say we are going to allow the man to see the children through the courts, yes, this is what we accept.
There are calls for there to be greater scrutiny and regulation of religious councils. Others have gone further to urge that such councils should be closed down. Do you think there is any justification in such calls?
Under the leadership of Islamic Cultural Center, Regent Park, London, about 11 Islamic Sharia councils have joined this board. And what is the purpose of that board? To unify the procedures of all Islamic Sharia councils and to make it more acceptable to the British legal system. So there is this step which has already been taken, and we are going to go forward, inshallah. Jazakumullah, Jazakumullah. Thank you for that nice interview.
Okay, welcome back. Now, just before I go to the phone lines, just get some reactions. Judge Drab, well, I think the last point that Sheikh Shuaib made there about the Sharia councils all coming together and the process starting, I mean, that's something to be welcomed.
It's a positive development, but I think the progress is so slow that it's not sustainable at all. And we also have to be very careful about the fiqh that they are joining together as a board, because it's not just the Islamic Cultural Center that has domination or that has authority over all Muslims in this country. We have to have a system where Sharia councils get together and agree standards nationally, across the board, as Minab has done, as the mosques and imams have done. The same formula could be applied here, without any affiliation to theology, meaning sectarianism. You know, everybody should be treated equally, and every panel must have female presence, must have female presence. And let us be quite honest about it. Self-appointed judges, that is what they are. They have got to show that they are capable of providing fair and equitable justice.
There needs to be a criteria.
There needs to be a criteria, and I'm sure. I mean, why haven't we heard complaints of a council, Sharia council, run by Maulana Shahid Raza? I have never heard it. I have been in the community for 30 years. Nobody has ever said they went to, you know, Muslim college where they sit, and they have had a bad experience. So there are differences in standards. I'm not saying that all the Sharia councils need to be reformed. No, that would be throwing the
But there needs to be some form of standardization,
absolutely right.
criteria.
Right. Absolutely right.
Imam Shahid Raza, and I think, you know, the caller, Sister Nasia, she made a point about having to discuss incredibly personal things with a man that's old as her father, and also having her brother in the same room to discuss these things. It's very, very difficult for a woman. Is it a necessity that, you know, a brother has to be there and everything else? I mean, can't a more conducive environment be created for her?
I think that if there is going to be a common minimum code of practice to be agreed within these Sharia councils, this item should be at the top of our agreement, that every caller must be given an option of speaking to a female or a male scholar at the Sharia council. It would take time. It is not going to happen overnight, but at least the process could start. There is a room of improvement. Dr. Suhaib Hassan, in the first part of his interview, has already said that. So we must embark upon a genuine and honest and effective exercise of reform. It is needed.
Okay, and if I can ask you about the other point that was raised about family custody and the issue, the way Panorama portrayed it. Because Islamically, obviously, there is a little bit difference from the kind of legislation we have. I mean, in your experience, how have you found Sharia councils to have dealt with these issues of custody or visitation rights for children and things like that?
Before I address the point about child custody, I do want to make a point that there is something called talaq-e-tafweed, that women have a right in their marriage contract. As Judge Drabu correctly said, it's a civil contract. You can put in any clause that's acceptable to the couple, that's not un-Islamic. So if the husband wants to delegate his right of talaq to the wife, it's called tafweed. And many women now feel capable of exercising that with caution, giving talaq-e-ihsan with all the breaks put in place so that they don't rush to do a divorce. Only give one divorce, don't give all three, etc. So if we can have that system, that would stop women having to rely on Sharia councils. It would release them from their workload and make them ready to take on those cases where women don't have tafweed. That's one solution. Number two, we're talking about child custody. Every Sharia council on the website says to the applicant, we do not get involved in these matters because, first of all, they're very demanding of time. They consume a lot of emotion as well. And Sharia councils really should just get on with the business of giving Islamic divorces to those women who ask for them. They do like to mediate, of course, because they want to keep families together. But they can't, as you say, have the power of enforcement anyway of any of those decisions. So they shouldn't really get involved in child custody disputes. I know, Imam Raza, you do not do so. You've said to me many times you do not get involved in that. If the mediation in the English courts fails, there's always the route of going to court. So we leave that well alone. Now we have many Muslim mediation services. We have to use those to settle these issues. Okay. And can I just say, I act for many, many men who are refused any contact or access to their children, and that is a grave sin, and we have to address that as well. So I'm by no means just a woman's lawyer who supports women. When they're wrong, they're told they're wrong, and it's the child.
About justice.
It's about the child's interest, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If the husband is harming the child, Islam will say, don't give the child to the husband. It's not automatic that you have a right to your son.
There are conditions. No. Okay, I'm going to come to the phone lines. Let's go to Lubna from Coventry. Assalamu alaikum, Lubna.
Assalamu alaikum to the panel. Basically, I want to ask a question which I'm a bit confused.
Sorry, sister, can you start again, sister?
A civil divorce already, and I've been told that it's actually hello?
Yeah, sister, carry on. Can you just start from the beginning? We just didn't hear you properly first.
All right, okay. Basically, what's happened? I've had a civil divorce, and I've got some information from two Maulanas. I've asked them basically, do I still have to apply for the Islamic? And they said no, because the civil one's done. Islamic one is dissolved automatically. Now I'm confused because I approached the Leighton Sharia Council, and they basically said it doesn't matter if the civil one's done, you could be still married for 14 years, kind of like your nikah is still valid or something in those terms.
Okay, I'll ask Imam Shahid Raza to clarify that. Thank you, Sister Lubna. Let's go to our next caller. Let's see who's online. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Okay, we won't go to the caller. Imam Shahid Raza, can you just clarify that point? If a civil divorce has taken place, do you still need an Islamic talaq?
Not necessarily. If the civil divorce was initiated by the husband, then we would consider it as an Islamic divorce also. If the civil divorce was not defended or not, if it was not defended or it was consented by the husband, again, in our Sharia council, the scholars agree that there will be no need for an additional Islamic divorce, only in cases where the civil divorce was pronounced and the husband did not consent, there would be a need of having additionally an Islamic divorce.
Okay, I hope that clarified it for sister. This is the final point, just moving on. And now, Abdullah Hassan, you wrote an article following Panorama, and you highlighted some of the issues and concerns in going forward in dealing with this kind of issue, especially with Sharia concern. Now, we've already mentioned some of the things that need to be done, and like Imam Shahid Raza mentioned, that there should be an option for those who come for the services to actually have an alima or an alim to deal with the issue. But what would you say are the other kind of issues that need to be looked into to actually bring about the services that are fit for purpose in our day and age?
From Noor's perspective, we've been campaigning for more education, to educate our imams who are dealing with these kind of issues, to be educated in domestic abuse and defend the complexities of domestic abuse and recognize the symptoms and the signs of domestic abuse. As I said earlier, many imams do not appreciate the symptoms, the signs of domestic abuse because of lack of awareness or lack of knowledge. So we need to, perhaps organize from MENAB's perspective, seminars and conferences and workshops where we bring in Sharia Council members and educate them, have a core 1-year course, 2-year course, where they meet and they receive education from professionals, people who are working in the area of domestic violence or domestic abuse, from social workers, from psychologists, and try and give them some sort of education how to tackle the problems of domestic abuse when a sister approaches them. And we've been trying to campaign in this area for over 3 to 4 years. But, recently we had obviously the Imams Against Domestic Abuse seminar, which was held in London, was very successful. But because of obviously Noor is a voluntary organization, the only funding that we have, a little funding, is
but
from
this is the problem, isn't it? Everyone is a voluntary, and everything is a voluntarily done, and that's what perhaps then we then measure up to things that are professionally done, that are paid for, and people have a salary. Just on these, I mean, the ideas, we're not short, as a community, we're not short of ideas, Imam Shahid Raza.
Let me admire what he is planning to do or he is doing. But as an individual and as a service provider with one of the Sharia councils, I strongly feel that even after all our Imams have been trained, the domestic violence may still be there. Because domestic violence is not because our religion is encouraging it or Imams or Masajid are encouraging it. There are so many other reasons: drug, parental interference, gambling, unemployment, so many tensions we are surrounded with. Unless all the stakeholders, all the service providers, they join hand with this good work, we may not be able to see
it's
a lot of difference.
When domestic violence is not a new problem. It's existed in the human race for a long time. But it's about when a sister or brother approaches an imam, approaches a Sharia council, they should be able to recognize the signs and not just say, what have you done? Did you provoke your husband? Did you put enough makeup? Didn't you cook well? Didn't you add a bit more salt or spice to the curry? Imam need to be trained in that sense. Obviously, it's not the imam's fault that men beat up women. It's because of men. Some men are evil animals, and they lash out against their women because of their psychological problem, because of their depression, and so on and so forth. But I believe that imam need to be trained in how to give advice, give proper counsel, and not just say, fear Allah and be patient. That's not proper counsel, proper advice. They need to recognize the signs of domestic violence and domestic abuse, and also try and partner up with psychologists and professionals who can they can seek help from, and they can give appropriate advice.
Okay. We fully appreciate your initiative.
Okay, let's go one last time to the phone calls, and then I'll come back to our panelists. I believe there's a sister online from Birmingham, perhaps. Assalamu alaikum. Sister, yes, you're on air. Your views, please.
Hi. I just needed some advice.
Yeah.
I know that the talaq system, where you also have the talaq when somebody is not getting on within the Sharia council, that sometimes that the talaq means you go through a phase where if two couples aren't getting on, and the Maulanas would rather say that instead of splitting straight away, you are given advice to say a person gives one talaq and then tries to see if the person gets on. If not, they then go further on. Families get involved. But I cannot understand the Razay one. I can understand it, but what does khul mean? What sort of talaq is the khul?
Imam Shahid Raza, did you catch that question?
The khul.
The khul. What is it?
Khul is a divorce initiated by the wife. Ultimately, it is a divorce. But when it is initiated by the wife, then it is called in Sharia terms as khul, where if there are no grounds or reasons for a divorce, the husband is entitled to put a price to that divorce. Generally, it is the return of mahar.
Okay. And she also raised the point that, when the men give divorce, that it's 1, 2, or 3. Is there a similar thing for the women in this way?
No. In fact, at the moment, I am educating my own audience that when they can kill the bird with 1 stone, why they should use 3.
Thank you.
MashaAllah.
1 divorce can effectively bring the marriage to an end after the period of iddah.
Yeah.
But the door of reconciliation would remain open until the end of the life of the couple. So that should be the practice.
And the 3 talaqs, it's actually wrong. It's a bid'ah, and we mustn't give them because it means you don't have any chance of going back after your temper is over. You have to remarry somebody else,
a lot of education
divorce
to be
there,
done.
come back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And finally, another point. You agree that if there is a fault-based divorce, if the wife has a reason for the divorce, she does not have to return the meher.
No,
because that's a very important point.
True. Yes.
Sometimes there's a huge amount of gold written as meher.
I know.
There's 30,000, 40,000 pounds, which would help her and her children start a new life. So it's by no means that the Sharia councils are forcing you to give up your meher. You must know your own rights.
Absolutely.
As women, you must educate yourselves.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to the phone lines. There's a sister from Ilford. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. You're on air.
Yeah, alaikum assalam. I'd just like to actually give a response to the first brother that actually called in regarding, how the women are actually influenced by the Western media. Western society, sorry. And basically, I'd like to say that it's so not true, because the thing is, if you look at, in particular, at the Pakistani and Bangladeshi culture, it's so provoked and it's so accepted to slap a woman or, be really, like, yell at her or shout at her. And unfortunately, that's where we lack Islamic education, because, our women are not educated enough. They're more culturally educated than religiously educated. And that's where it comes on to our sons. And if you look at it, domestic violence is a huge, huge problem. And unfortunately, the councils and the people that, unfortunately, some of them are awesome, but some aren't. And that's just a fact. And that's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sister. Let's take our next caller. Aisha. Assalamu alaikum, Aisha. Aisha, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
You're on air. Your views, please, sister.
Assalamu alaikum. A few questions. Firstly, if a sister is in a situation where she's facing severe domestic violence and oppression, where the husband is not providing either, and she's actually really scared of him to even move on or make a decision to move on, and she has about 5 or 6 children, but the husband's constant abuse and intimidation gives her fear that he will hurt her to move on. She's been to Sharia council, she's been to the imams. Because the husband refused to cooperate with the Islamic law by dealing with the imams or the Sharia council, she has no option but to stay in the marriage because she fears going to the police would be haram. And that probably would be the only way for her to move on and make a life for herself and her children, where she's not faced with this a constant abuse, where she even feels within herself, what is my right as a Muslim? Does Islam give me right? If disobeying my husband is haram, how can I do something that's going to make him feel as though I've disobeyed him? She becomes confused on what is her right as a Muslim. She feels, have I got rights when doing certain things that makes him angry is disobedience? And the only way I'm going to be able to make myself stand up as a Muslim woman to look after myself and my children and get away from this bully is by doing these things. So what, in this situation, what does the sister do? What does the sister do where he will not cooperate with the imam, he will not sit with anyone? It's part of an Islamic council group, it's part of that. What does a sister in this situation do?
Thank you, sister. I'll ask Imam Shahid Raza just to respond to that.
I think that, yes, family breakdown or divorce is a very sad reflection on the family. But in cases where women are victim of violence, they must have the courage to stand up. And perhaps imams, mosques, organizations, Muslim organizations, Sharia councils need to come out forcefully to offer every possible support to such victims.
And in this example, if the the sister is looking for a solution, a resolution to the problem, but the husband is not going to the Sharia council, is not going to the meetings and everything else, and the only option left to her is really to perhaps go to the police. I mean, is it right for her to do that? What should she do? What is her options?
I think that yes, if there is a need to contact the police, that must be done. Things must be reported to the police. My belief is that if we are living in this country, we wish to function in this country as organizations, and we wish to run institutions, the most important requirement is not to violate the law of the country.
Okay. Let's go back to the phone lines. A sister from Bedford. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Okay, we've lost that call actually. Let's go to Junaid, who's on the line. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Junaid? Okay, we're not sure if our phone lines are working or not. Let's try our next line. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello? Okay, we're not getting any responses from the phone lines for some reason. Hopefully, it's just technical, because I know. Yeah.
Sharia councils are voluntary. They don't have monthly or weekly pay, so we can't expect the Sharia council to do everything, whether it be counselling, whether it be other special requirements help. So I think as I mentioned before, I think what the Sharia council need to do is approach social workers, if Muslim social workers approach initiatives like no domestic violence, and there are a number of other initiatives like that within the UK, and try and work with them, females and males who are professionals. They understand the dynamics of domestic abuse, they can give counselling. Like the sister example, we at Noor receive these kind of cases every other week. And we have professionals, counsellors, we have legal advisors who can give them the appropriate advice. You know, as an imam, I can't give the advice appropriately all the time. I can give what is halal and haram. But when it comes to counselling, when it comes to professional help, we have to seek help in that, inshallah.
It's from the experts,
If I can just say, if you have mechanisms in this country, we are so fortunate to have mechanisms where you have anger management courses, where you have family therapy. It doesn't mean that if there's an incidence of abuse, that is it, the family is written off forever. Social services work with us as solicitors to mend families. So lawyers are not there just to break up the family, they're there to provide a place of safety with an injunction, remove the perpetrator from the home. You have to protect the children. That's your first duty under Islamic and English law. Then you work with the husband to make sure he's a good father and husband again. Once he's had the shock that he could lose everything, sometimes he really changes his ways. So we're not all there to be against men and break up families. I think it's joined up thinking we need.
Well, it's just a partnership approach, really, isn't it? Working with other services that already exist, not trying to. I mean, do you sense that, you know, maybe as a community we're always trying to reinvent the wheel? You know, it needs to be done by Muslims.
I think not only that, we have become too negative. Everything is seen as an attack on Islam. Everything is Islamophobic. We don't take responsibility for our own actions. I think I should also like to make the point that we are too suspicious of the police. We haven't got confidence in enforcement mechanism of the police.
Another program for that one.
I know.
We'll come back.
I know. And the other thing is that, unfortunately, many people do not realize that they have got rights in this country, which are guaranteed, nationally as well as internationally. So we need a lot of education.
Absolutely.
And the more women come forward, the better off the society is, our Islamic society is going to be.
Okay. We are probably coming for a few minutes left for the program. I'm going to take one more caller and then I'll get some thoughts from our panelists. Asma is on the line. Assalamu alaikum, Asma.
Wa alaikum salam to your panel. Actually, I was just listening in, and I don't really have a problem because I haven't had to deal with it, but I know for the sisters that had to deal with this. But do you think that the problem starts before it goes to the Sharia Council? because too often that women are getting married to brothers and they don't actually know the background of the man before they get married. And even so, they don't even have a wali. And the Prophet peace be upon him said that they should have a wali. And most of the girls today that get married is because of their family says so, or their cousin says so, or they're looking for a man with a PhD, and then when they get married to that person or that sister, they get a shock, and then things start going from bad to worse. So personally, I think that in the Sharia Council, that the people there are a little bit outdated and out of touch with the younger generation, and that's probably why most of the problems are not being solved. Because most of the people that are getting divorced these days are mainly the younger generation who are not prepared to put up with what their parents put up with.
Okay, and definitely my final caller now. Khadija is on the phone. Assalamu alaikum, Khadija.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
You're on air, sister. Your views, please.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, brother. I think I've got two issues here. One is about, we are talking about the sisters, the sister being domestically abused. And when we think about domestic abuse, we're only thinking about the physical side. I think there's more to the physical side, which is the emotional and the psychological abuse as well. Because if a sister has 6 children with the brother, the sister was saying, now the sister is made to feel worthless. Who's going to take you with 6 children? So with that, the sister is really helpless to go anywhere. So this is why I think maybe the Muslim community should really work hard to support those sisters, to give them the right advice, or the Sharia Council to have psychologists and people who can deal with these emotional things. Because I'm not sure how many people in the Sharia Council are trained as psychologists or can deal with emotional abuse.
Okay.
Because physical abuse is not only the issue here, the emotions that go with it.
Okay, thank you, sister. I'm going to have to stop you there because we are coming to the end, and I did promise my panelists I'll give them some time to say any last words in terms of moving forward. If I can start with you, Judge Drab.
Yes, Brother Azad, I think the road is very simple, easy to follow, and inshallah all that it needs is public consultation, discussion, agreement, and then we have a system that mirrors the system that is followed by MENAM. That is system of self-regulation, ensuring that those people who set up Sharia councils, because I can set up a shop tomorrow and start a Sharia council. There is no regulation. I don't have to have any qualifications. So we have a process of governance, a good governance document, which Sharia councils should adopt and follow. And we are there then. Gradually, we'll make progress. It is good that there is recognition all around that we have a problem that we need to address. And once that awareness is there, then the road is quite easy, inshallah.
Imam Shahid Raza?
I fully support this initiative that MENAB is going to undertake. And I believe that after having an extensive consultation with all the stakeholders, we will come up with a mechanism which, inshallah, will reflect the need of the community, the need of our families and societies. And at the same time, I would very much like Judge Khurshid Darabu to consider during his consultation some sort of training scheme for us all. I wasn't trained to run a Sharia council or to serve with a Sharia council. So we all need some sort of training, and that would make a big difference.
Jazakallah khair. Sister Aina, final words from you?
You both have my support completely, and anything we can do, we will do, because it needs focus. More than anything, instead of all of us doing things separately, which we are doing very sincerely and working very hard, the energy will be multiplied 100-fold if we come together. I don't care if everyone's not on board. You can't make the whole community happy. You can't win everyone over. The Muslim community here suffers from a lack of leadership anyway. So why don't we grasp the nettle, get started, have a gold standard. Even if 10% start coming behind us, the others will see the example and the difference it makes. Inshallah, it will follow suit.
Okay, brilliant. And Abdullah Hassan, from you?
I think I echo what everyone has said, and obviously we need to support everyone's initiatives. I think the Panorama program, other programs, could be a blessing in disguise, you know, for the Muslim community. That MINAB and other organizations have taken steps to try and regulate and unify the Sharia Council and other bodies. From Noor perspective, you know, domestic violence, domestic abuse is a huge problem within the Muslim community. I'm dealing with it firsthand as an imam and also a member of a Sharia Council in Manchester. It's a big, massive problem, and we need to train our imams, train the Sharia members in psychology, in counselling, in legal affairs. Obviously, we will not be experts in everything, but we have some understanding of how to give some counsel to those victims and clients who come to seek some nasiha, to seek some counsel.
Okay. Well, thank you all, Jazakumullah khair, for coming in. And my apologies to some of the callers who we lost and some of the callers I could not take at the moment. We've run out of time, as they say. I think all the key points have been made. I think for Muslims, every situation is an opportunity, and I think there are more, young imams like Abdullah Hassan and others are coming through who can contextualize and live and give advice to the people of our society at the moment. So inshallah, the future is bright. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum.